I'm happy to be joined by a familiar face here to many of you today. Noah Reid joins us today. Noah, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us.
Well, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Now, Noah, most people will know you from Schitt's Creek. You played Patrick on there, and the series unfortunately just ended. A lot of the fans I know are disappointed that we don't have the chance to watch it anymore, other than if we decide to rewatch the series. But you've been busy now because you have this duality. You're an actor and you're a singer. Tell me about the album that you released back in February.
Released in May, on May 29th, on my 33rd birthday. It's called Gemini, and it's a project that I've been working on closely with my friend Matt Barber for some time. Sorry, there's a fly trying to hijack my interview here. But yeah, it's my second record, and a lot of I don't know. It seemed like a strange time to be releasing a record, but it's sort of how we had planned to roll it out, and it didn't feel quite right to pause it or to hold off. My feeling was that if there was any way to put this music out during this time where people are sort of, making big adjustments and staying home and sort of scrambling for any sense of normality, then that would be some kind of contribution I could make, and it would certainly free up some creative space for myself. So I'm glad to have it out, and I'm glad that people are finding it and listening to it. I'm very proud of it.
Tell me about the songs and the songwriting process. Was it basically you and Matt, or did you kind of take over, or how did it work? Was it a very much a collaborative effort?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've written those songs over the course of many years, and largely to do. I think on this record, there's a lot of songs that sort of deal with my life as an actor and the ups and downs of the unpredictable entertainment industry, and also it covers a period of time where I met my now fiance. We're getting married against all odds in a few weeks now, and so a lot of love songs, and then a lot of songs of sort of difficulty getting through tough times, which feel relevant for the current time. So I wrote those songs and took them to Matt, who is an excellent songwriter and singer and musician himself, and he helped me produce my first record, Songs from a Broken Chair. And so we took 2 weeks in the studio about a year and a half ago to record, I think, about 17 songs, and 12 of them made the record. And Matt's an incredible producer, and just has a really soft touch. Hears the music in a beautiful way and really facilitated the whole thing. So I was very pleased to get to work with him again, and we're good pals. And so yeah, it becomes a lot more collaborative once you're in the studio. The songwriting is a sort of an isolated process, but yeah, it all sort of comes together. You need other people to get things done, as it turns out.
What's it like for you when you release this music and you release it out to the world and you aren't sure how people are going to react to it? Is it kind of an unnerving process?
It can be. I think if you let too many of those doubts enter your head, you can get yourself in trouble. But I had the feeling that you spend so much time with these things, and there's so much quality control over the course of the long process that you're sort of working on these things, and so I felt that I had at least a good shot of communicating what I had hoped to communicate with these songs, and the songs sort of tell you what they want to be if you're listening close enough. So yeah, it can be a little strange to let go of them. I mean, but I think that's a part of the process that can be quite beautiful, is giving over control and saying, okay, I've done my work on them, and now they belong to you as a listening public, and if there's something in there for you, then amazing.
Now, normally, Noah, you'd be able to go out and do a tour, but obviously things are a little bit different now. So how do you deal with that? And I know you've been doing some appearances and some things like speaking with us via Skype, but it's going to be a while, I think, before we can kind of get back to a place where musicians do what musicians do. So how do you handle that when you can't tour to promote the album?
Yeah, well, I was in the middle of my first time out tour when COVID really struck back in early March. We were playing a show in Chicago and on our way to Boston, and we never got there. We headed back to Toronto, and and the tour was sort of postponed indefinitely. And I agree with you. It looks like it'll be a while before, we can get back out, certainly in North America and likely in Europe too. Um, but it's, these are ever changing times and everybody's sort of figuring out how that works. I think it's likely that I'll get back in the studio before I get back on the road, but it's hard to say. You just try to keep up with the news and how things are trending, and hope for the best. And certainly technology in these times, it's been interesting to play some of these shows. I played last night on Twitch, Amazon Music concert, and about 16 or 16 and a half thousand people tuned in to watch an hour-long set. So that's a bigger room than I would play normally. So I'm glad that there's an opportunity to reach people in some way. It's certainly a strange way to do things, and I'm far from an audio technician, so I'm sure it's not exactly up to snuff technically speaking, but it's fun nonetheless, and it's interesting to challenge yourself in these different times.
Well, Noah, thank you again for taking the time to talk to us today, and congratulations on the album Gemini. One last question that I have to ask, because everybody's been asking, will we see a reunion for Schitt's Creek, or perhaps a movie? Is there any chat about that right now?
No chat so far, but I think it's a question we've all been asked quite a bit. So hopefully Dan and Eugene are listening to that, and I hope that if it feels right, that it's something that we'd all be open to. Certainly, we had an incredible time making the show, and I think this year, around this time, we'd have finished shooting the sixth season, and so through this interesting time period, I've certainly missed being on set with those people, and if it felt right, I'd be open to it again. But I'm not the one holding the cards there, I'm afraid.
All right. Well, again, good luck with everything happening here in the future. I know it's a strange time for everybody, but thank you again for talking to us today. And as I said, we wish you much luck with everything that you do in the future.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.